Hey everybody, it's Jason from the Texas Gun Vault, and today I'm coming to you with another EDC gear review. I try to occasionally branch out from things beyond firearms, and many times this has turned into flashlight reviews. I get these sent to the channel for review, and I know that there's a lot of people out there that like to carry flashlights and knives and so forth, so I just want to give you guys honest opinions on these products as I get them. Now, today I have the Fenix TK16 V2 Tactical Flashlight. And as always, I will give you the terms of the agreement. The only thing I have received for free is this one flashlight, one patch, and one sticker. And that is it. This is not a commercial for this brand or this particular flashlight. It was just given to me, and I'm just going to do an unboxing and initial impressions and kind of a tabletop review. That is it. If you're interested in this flashlight, you guys can go check it out. Search for it on Google. I might put a link in the description below so you guys can go check it out. If you're not interested, I will also put a link to the other flashlights that I will compare this to and my reviews in the description below, so go check those out as well. So let me adjust the camera and let's get this flashlight out and see what I think. Alright, so here's the box that it comes in, and it claims that it has 3100 lumens. By far, this would be the brightest flashlight that I own, if that is true. I'm going to compare this to a couple of other flashlights that I have here on the table that I have reviewed in the past, and I will put a link to the EDC gear playlist. And you guys can go see my reviews of these as I compare and contrast them later in the video. But right now, we're going to unbox this thing right here, and let's see what's inside. So I have not opened this thing, so honestly I have no earthly idea what's in here. Obviously the flashlight, but I don't know how it's packaged. The box is kind of nice. Alright, so here we go. That's what we get. We have the flashlight, and to be honest with you, it's a lot bigger than I was expecting it to be. It looks very similar to the Nightcore, and it has a lot of the same warning labels on it as well. So that makes me wonder if it's made in the same factory. Who knows? I don't know. I know that when it comes to a lot of these flashlights that are made overseas, they could be made in the same factories and just put different brands on them. But we'll see that in a moment. So it has a little tag on it here. Looks like we get some owner's manual stuff. We get a charging cable, a lanyard, and a carrying case. I like that. All right, so let's get all that out of the way. And it looks like we have a little instruction here. It says, caution, do not shine the flashlight onto flammable materials for a long time because of its extremely high output. All right, that sounds a little dangerous. And then over here it says remove. So obviously there must be one of those little plastic inserts in the battery. So let's take this apart, remove that insert, and see if this thing has enough charge right from the factory. All right, so let's remove that, put this back on. Actually, wait, I'm gonna see what this battery is. Take a look at that thing. There it is. It's a 21700 battery. In case you were wondering, it is rechargeable. All right, the cap does have a O-ring on it, obviously to keep it watertight, and it is back on there. Before I turn this thing on, the bezel looks really nice. In fact, it looks very similar to the one from Nightcore. So as I said, I'm wondering if that is made in the same factory. The bezels are a little bit different, but here we go. Let's push the end cap and see how bright this thing is. Okay, so that's going to be maybe on the low, I guess. And maybe you have to change modes with the upper button. Okay, so there we go. I like this arrangement where it's on off and you change modes with a single button. I don't have to tap it multiple times. So that must be a higher setting, even higher. All right, so let me kind of go through these here a little bit. All right, so I've been playing around with it for a little bit, and once it's on, you have the function button here in the back, and you go through the different settings, and let me tell you, that turbo setting actually is pretty darn bright, and I can tell you the heat on that is a lot. So I'm curious how hot this bezel is going to get from the outside, and if it will affect your placement of your hand if the heat comes back into the body of the flashlight at all. But I can tell you that turbo mode is really, really bright. I'm going to leave it on here for just a moment, and feeling the bezel here, yeah, it's getting pretty warm. That'd be my only concern there. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to turn off the lights, and we're going to compare this particular light with the other ones that are on the table, and maybe these are models that you are familiar with. And if not, as I said, go check out my reviews of them. And I think kind of for our baseline, I'm going to compare it to the Olight Baton 2. This might be the most commonly and widely available flashlight on this table. All right, so let me adjust the camera and turn off the lights. All right, so I have the lights dimmed here, and we are now going to check out the beam, the spill, and the hotspot of the Fenix TK16 flashlight. So let me go ahead and turn off the light, and we'll see how this flashlight performs. All right, so this first setting should be on low, and this is supposed to be, I believe, like 30 lumens. It's pretty low, but it's actually pretty functional for a low setting. I like that. Right now, the hotspot is kind of medium size and has lots of spill. Now I'm going to move up to the next setting, and it is significantly brighter. And go up to the next setting. Now I don't see too much difference between that second and third setting. It is brighter, but I wouldn't say by a lot. I believe this is now going to be the high setting. And I think we got one more, which is the turbo. And that's the turbo. And that is exceptionally bright. The hotspot is pretty large, and I would say you get medium spill. Now, I know that my camera is probably not going to pick up on all of this as it tries to adjust for the difference in light, but I can tell you that is a pretty effective tactical flashlight. I like that. The bezel does kind of give you a non-rounded spill around the sides. See if I can bring that down there. You might be able to see there over the poster, you can kind of see the shadow, and that's of the bezel. Now I can tell you from just holding this light, just as long as you have seen this thing on turbo mode, this flashlight is getting hot in my hand. It is not uncomfortable yet, but it's getting there. And that was my biggest concern, is how hot does this light get? And if you're going to use it, I'm sure you're going to want to use it on turbo mode. And this thing is getting exceptionally hot. I'm probably going to have to turn this off in just 1 second here. So the heat is definitely the biggest problem, but the light is pretty darn big, and I think with the heat, this might make the battery either have a shorter life, or you might actually have issues with it when it comes to the battery possibly exploding. I don't know. I don't think batteries are supposed to get that hot, and yeah, this flashlight is getting hot. So I'm going to go ahead and turn it off. All right, so now we're going to compare it to another EDC flashlight, and I wouldn't say this one is a tactical light, but this is the Olight Baton 2, and this is the beam for this. About the same sized hotspot here, and not as much spill. Let me put it on high now. And that's pretty bright too, and I would say that this is pretty comparable to the high setting on the Fenix. So about the same size hotspot. So if you own one of these Olight Baton 2 flashlights, it's a pretty common flashlight. You can kind of get about the same type of spread when it comes to the beam. So now I'm going to move on to one of my favorite flashlights, and this is going to be the ThruNite BSS V4. So this one has a little bit more of a yellow beam to it, and this is the low setting. And there is the high setting. Let the camera adjust. And I would say that this does not have a very centered hotspot. You get a lot of spill, but it is exceptionally bright. I would put this, from just the way that my eyes view it, about on par with the high or the turbo setting of the Fenix. And if you watch my review on this particular flashlight, it does not get as hot as the other options. I don't know if it's just the design of it or the fact that it's a longer flashlight, so the heat dissipates better. So there is that flashlight. And now I'm going to switch over to the Nitecore TSL-10i. And this one has kind of been one of my favorite tactical flashlights as well. It's pretty large. And this one is also exceptionally bright. So this one has a much more centered hotspot, so it really kind of depends on your style. I would think that for a tactical flashlight, I would want a medium to small hotspot. I would want it to be very centered, especially if I was going to be clearing a building. I would definitely want to have a hotspot that I could flash right in somebody's eyes to disorient them. And of course, all these flashlights do have a strobe mode. So now I'm going to cycle through the options here. Here are the low, and that's the high, and the medium. So this one's pretty bright, not as bright as the turbo mode on the Fenix, but I'm pretty happy with the performance and brightness of this one. So now I'm going to move on to the Through Night Catapult, one of my most unique flashlights that I've reviewed, because it has such a centered hotspot. And see if I can bring this up where maybe the hotspot will be noticeable. There it is, right there. You can see that is a very small and narrow hotspot. This flashlight is designed to throw that light a very long distance. So while this might not be a tactical flashlight, I kind of wanted to compare the hotspot of it to the Fenix. So there are the flashlights that I have reviewed, and you can kind of see how they compare. And now I'm going to bring back up the Fenix flashlight. Let me turn off the Through Night light. And here is the Fenix again on turbo mode. And this flashlight is still pretty hot. So I think that is going to be the biggest downside to this. I like the performance of it. I like the size of it a lot as well. But if you're going to run this thing on medium, high, or turbo, it's going to get hot. And that warning label that says do not point this at a flammable surface, and probably after running it for a while, you're not going to want to put it down on something that could possibly melt. That is just kind of a warning that you would need to know. They need to do something about this heat and to dissipate this heat. Now I know a lot of these very, very bright flashlights have this issue, but this one right now in my hand is kind of hot. I like the performance, but the heat would be the biggest issue, and I'd actually be kind of scared when it comes to the battery over a longer lifetime of use. All right, so there are the beam differences. So let me turn the lights back on, adjust this, and I'll give you guys my final thoughts. All right, so what are my final thoughts on the Fenix TK16 Tactical Flashlight? Well, from an aesthetic standpoint, I kind of like it. It looks pretty nice. The finish on it doesn't seem to be anodized. Maybe it is. It looks more of like a matte finish or of a painted finish. So I don't know how durable it would be. I gotta say, I like the function of it. I like how many modes it has, including the strobe mode. But the biggest issue with this thing is going to be the heat. This flashlight gets exceptionally hot. I tried it on medium and high. It still gets pretty warm, and on turbo, I don't think you could really use it for an extended period of time. Although the owner's manual says you have up to 2 hours of battery life on turbo, this thing I think would actually get dangerously hot. It does say it does have an auto off if the temperature does get too hot, but that's kind of scary to be honest with you. It gets really, really hot. Where the other flashlights that I have out here, like this Nitecore, which is kind of the other big tactical flashlight that I've used, it can get a little bit warm out here towards the bezel, but it doesn't get uncomfortably hot. I don't feel like that is an issue when it comes to danger. I wouldn't worry about putting that down necessarily on a very sensitive surface. I would still be careful. I know that you could hurt yourself maybe if you touch the bezel after it's been on for a while, but nothing gets as hot as this light. Now, yeah, it's exceptionally bright, and they're trying to contain a beam in a pretty, I would say, medium-sized flashlight here, so I would expect it to get hot, but besides that, I worry about the battery. So it does come with a carrying case, which is nice as well, a charging cable, and a lanyard. So if you like to add those accessories and carry a tactical flashlight, that's nice. It comes with it. Of course, I'm sure you can buy other accessories for this that would be aftermarket stuff that would work really nice as well. So how would I rate this on my star system when it comes to my EDC gear? Well, I'm only going to give this flashlight 2.5 stars out of 5. I know it's kind of a low score for a flashlight. And it's not because I think it doesn't function well. My biggest concern is the heat. It was uncomfortable to hold even after just that short period of time showing you how it worked on camera. And I worry about it with the safety when it comes to the lithium battery. I don't know if there's a potential of the battery exploding. You're not supposed to get batteries that hot. And this thing gets exceptionally hot. So there you go. Does it work? Yes. Does it have lots of different options? Yes. Does it seem well constructed? Yes. But it gets hot. And so for that, I'm only going to give it 2.5 stars out of 5. This thing might be a safety risk, especially to someone that might not be familiar with tactical flashlights. If you just let somebody borrow this to work on their car or something, they turn it on, they get it really bright, they put it down on something, I think they could burn themselves or potentially start a fire, to be honest with you. So that's a big concern. And of course, then once again, I've mentioned it many times, that battery getting that hot, that does worry me. So if you're only going to use this on the low and maybe the medium setting, I think you'd be okay. If you're going to use this on high and turbo, you just got to be careful. So there's many things about this flashlight that I think are good and a few things about it that I think are a concern. So 2.5 stars out of 5 for the Fenix TK16 flashlight. Now I know some of you are going to say this is not a true review. I'm not outside in the woods throwing it and torture testing it. No, that is not what my channel is about. I'm an average gun guy, and that's always the perspective that I review any product from. Because I know that most people are not going to be going out throwing this thing in a lake, freezing it in a block of ice, dropping it from a 10-story building. They're just not going to be doing that. So I don't do those types of tests. I just give you guys my initial impressions. I show you how it works here in the garage, because that's how I would use this flashlight as an average gun guy. And I tell you my impressions, and there you go. You know my impressions. It's okay. It's kind of in the middle, and I worry about the heat. So there you go. The Fenix TK16 EDC review tactical flashlight. So what do you guys think? Do you guys own one of these Fenix flashlights, and do you have the same heat issue that I experienced? I would love to know in the comment section below. So as always, thanks for watching.